Hello, good afternoon, welcome back to the Ineffable Else. Hello if you're new, and welcome to the final chapter of this astrological year. I'm fairly happy that there are certain incongruencies with the way the world celebrates the new year in the middle of Capricorn, because it gets us thinking, it gets us in a place where we're reflecting on the previous year quite harshly sometimes, and gets us looking for what we would like to bring into the future. It's probably the right time to be thinking those things, but not necessarily the time to be putting them into action. So think of that as a sort of springboard that has then brought you forward into this final moment before things start making sense again. The great trouble with Pisces is we all respond to it in a different way. Some of us feel really at home here in this kind of very far out energy. It is the ruler of the planet Neptune, after all, a very, very deep space body, which is involved with the dream space. So, how have you been feeling your dreams recently? I've been asking this a lot because of Neptune being in Pisces. This is a time conducive to the dream state and to dreaming well. And the most important thing about this time is that it's the moment to wrap up any loose ends, not a moment to feel particularly that you know everything, although this is the moment in the year when you have the most access to the collective unconscious, to your own subconscious, to the wider world and the empathic state of consciousness, which is inherently going to be difficult to navigate, as there are many different players, many different perspectives, and it's that state of being where two things can be true at the same time. It's asking you to get comfortable with duality in order to let it go. So sometimes when we interact with this archetype, I wonder how you have in previous years, it can manifest as certain otherworldly experiences, certain travels in the mind, in the heart, in the soul, in the body, certain emotional experiences that you are capable of having, and there are no words for that kind of experience. They are sort of the thing that you're swimming in. And where does the ego fit into that? How does it try to navigate there? How does it try to grapple with and understand, comprehend, get a hold of yourself? It has to take a back seat. It has to take a back seat for this cauldron of change to bubble and churn inside of you, so that you can give birth to yourself in Aries, which is just around the bend. I love Aries energy. It's very fresh, very new, very direct and very easy to handle, and it's a grand opportunity every time around. You feel how pregnant it is with life and with newness. And Pisces is so innocent and pure, and yet completely and utterly drenched and soaked with the 11 signs that have come before it. It's utterly all-knowing. I don't see a chasm of difference between Pisces and Aries. I just see it as having doubt and no doubt. So it's about releasing that feeling of doubt, feeling the anxiety and doing it anyway. So what has been your relationship to the previous year, including those sort of resolutions and that finishing energy that we had on the 1st of January? What have you done since then? Where has your heart and your mind gone? It's been quite a mental period, especially if you're in a wintry country. This is only now I'm emerging back outside and sitting on the ground, reconnecting to the earth and the elements. Pisces is water, but it's a connection with absolutely all of the elements. And there's an acceptance of death, an acceptance of life, an acceptance of love, an acceptance of hate, an acceptance of other, an acceptance of near, an acceptance of family, an acceptance of the unfamiliar, an acceptance of the past, an acceptance of the future, an acceptance of ancestral mistakes, an acceptance of the next 7 generations and whatever they will do. It's about acceptance with Pisces, because there is no other way to go. There's no option. It's out of your hands. You either go with the flow, or you get wedged between some rocks and you cry about it. No one will even notice you cry because everything is drenched. So I love the Pisces archetype. I love it dearly. I love it dearly. My mother is a Pisces. Pisces parents, Pisces elders, they don't know what they have to offer. They don't realize the gifts that they have, because that archetype is very feminine, very all-consuming, and very expansive, and very voluptuous, and very, well, in a large way, very Venusian, very beautiful, very elegant, and very related to Venus. And yet, this isn't just a Libran Taurus type of feeling. This is also taking into consideration all of the lessons learned through Scorpio, and that coagulation in Sagittarius, and that kind of embittered, all-knowing parental feeling in Capricorn, and that genuinely all-knowing intellectual championing of Aquarius. It's convoluted. It's a lot of language, it's a lot of layers, it's a lot of people, it's considering a lot of things from a lot of different angles. It's been very, very up for quite a lot of this period. Even with Capricorn, this is the earth energy, but it's the top of the mountain. You're thinking about things that you wouldn't necessarily be thinking about in day-to-day life. And now we move into a new cycle, and what you're presented with is you yourself on a plate. These are your ingredients. This is what constitutes you. And what are you going to do with yourself? How are you going to dance the next 12 months? It's a beautiful breakdown. It's a beautiful breakdown to focus on a particular planet. Maybe choose the ruler of your chart and live with that energy for the year. This is why I love doing this channel, because it forces me over a few weeks, sometimes months, to focus on one particular planet and feel it from all the different angles. Whatever happens, we're all able to tap into the moon as she changes every 2 days into a different sign, if you really want to engage with any particular archetype. There's so much of a little overlap as well as we move through Aquarius into Pisces, and the ability to make music and to find expression through words. You maybe think that you're not particularly literate. You may think that you don't have the words. Maybe you're in a country where you're not able to speak your first language and you feel limited in expression. There are other ways to express yourself. There's a font of knowledge within you. You have access to the world of knowledge that's ever been there, as long as you can sit and go within, meditate, make space, make room. You're not Homer Simpson. It's not as I push one thing into my brain, another thing comes out. It's always letting go. But you let it go into this kind of soupy atmospheric world around you, which is always accessible. You can always pull things out of thin air whenever you need them. You're a magician. And Pisces asks us, free of ego. This is one benefit that Pisces really has over the next very personal quadrant that we're going to enter, is the ability to be utterly connected and at the top of your game, but free from ego, free from pride, free from all of the vices of the world. You're very satisfied with very little, very able to live in the dream world. You imagine yourself in a literal prison, and what would you do? Well, I would suggest that most people would tend to escape into the mind. The unfortunate thing is that sometimes the mind is even worse than the reality, and we create all kinds of cataclysms within the mind. You are only as happy as your mind is calm. You are only as receptive as your mind is empty. So to redefine what you think of as being intelligent or extroverted or introverted or needing to be one thing or the other, Pisces is just going to throw you a curveball. It's going to come along one morning and say, astrology doesn't exist. That scientific theory, it's been disproven. That thing you based your entire existence on, gone. How do you like that? How are you going to deal with that? There needs to be a real holding lightly of things, just very gently playing with concepts as if they were just these balls of energy that come into the world. Wow, look at this tool. Look how I can use it. Oh, look how it doesn't serve me anymore. Anyway, we just continue playing. That's what children do. They just really pick up whatever they can. They move it around. They stick it in here. They chew on it. They poke someone with it. They throw it away. They bring it back. They're just playing, seeing what works. And we can do that on higher planes of consciousness. We can do that with more elaborate tools. And we can hone our own internal tools and our own structures for finding more peace, more tranquility in the midst of a world which is inevitably going to be throwing you against the wall sometimes and knocking you right off your horse. I've been investigating the tarot again and really loving the newness that it brings. It doesn't matter how many times you investigate any kind of sacred geometry or esoteric knowledge, and of course these are my interests. Your interests could be something else. It could be fishing. It doesn't matter. Coming back to that with fresh eyes every few years, just taking that new course and seeing yourself as a baby and allowing yourself to be seen as a baby. It's very humbling. Taking up something that is brand new. It taps into that moment when you learn something completely new and you said, and then what? What's next? And what else can I learn? Wow! That wonder, that marvelous feeling. There's nothing worse than becoming an elder and feeling like you know it all. It's about being the kind of elder that is still amazed, still able to have that glistening eye and be able to kind of pass on that infectious nature for intrigue, for respecting the mystery, for respecting not knowing quite what's coming round the corner. And in this extremely creative place, explore your voice. The world that tells you you can or you can't sing, I'm not saying go and enter X Factor or something, just saying that there's a tool here for expression, whether that's rage, whether that's anger, whether that's Hungarian throat singing, which is very related to Mongolian throat singing, whether it's chirping like a bird, whether it's finding that one day your pitch is extremely high and squeaky and another day you're suddenly able to do some gravelly Leonard Cohen type thing. Just play, and just let your voice explore and sing along to things. Sing along to the wind. Open up your voice. It's just for you. And it's for the universe to feel. It's for the world to feel that you are in tune. And it doesn't matter if you're technically in tune. It's about whether you're tuned in to your surroundings, to how you feel, how you really feel. And you may not think you're the nicest singer. Sometimes I hear some birds and they're squawking away and I think, do you think that's pretty? That's kind of hurting my ears. But someone out there finds that beautiful. Because birds mate for life. And there's nothing quite like hearing your other half singing. And you hear their voice and it's unique to them. So even if you're living in the middle of nowhere and you're alone, let your voice out. Let yourself express yourself. Because how else are you going to attract people into your life with your own bird song unless you actually use it? And if you really don't like to sing, then let's try dancing. This is just moving the body. There's absolutely no right or wrong way of doing it. Apart from sometimes going a bit too hard and doing yourself a damage, doing yourself some injury. But other than that, absolutely no holds barred. Just let it out. Let yourself express your body, express what's in your heart, and put it into some kind of expression through your vessel that you have here. Because that's the marrying of the absolute physical realm and the spiritual realm which Pisces dwells in. All creative means apply, so this goes for any kind of creative output, including drawing, but the more that it encompasses all of you, your body, drawing, dancing, moving, singing, making love, playing, doing something enjoyable and that doesn't just keep you in your head, it brings you down into the body, then the more activating that will be for all of your centers and the more magnetism that you will naturally have. And that acceptance of absolutely everything is what Pisces is asking you to do. It's not asking you to find the ultimate answer to anything. It's about getting you to answer the ultimate questions and being grateful with whatever is presented to you, because that is what you needed to know in that moment, and just attuning your sensitivity to be able to recognize that most of the time the universe will give you an answer more or less immediately, even if it's not the one that you necessarily want to hear. I had to move to get out of the wind, is the long and short of it. So the main thing to do is to make sure that you've got your intentions set for this new year, that you don't have a particular agenda, there's no attachment to any particular outcome, there's no big trajectory that you need your life to be on, you don't need to have any specific goals. It's more of a feeling. It's more, how do you want to be feeling inside? Which things would you rather let go of? Which sensations would you rather were not so present in your life? And focus on them. Don't let anybody else be the center of your focus. Even if you were able to keep everyone happy and please absolutely everyone, you would never be happy with yourself. So the main thing is that you can really please yourself. And that also goes for being okay in a room with anyone. So even if it's your worst enemy, or it's your parents, or it's your boss, or it's someone on the internet, you know, there's this idea that we need to get rid of the toxic energy. The toxic energy is within us. We can only be hurt by us allowing ourselves to be hurt, by allowing the hurt to enter us. This is more than the idea that your thoughts manifest your reality. This is your feelings. This is going deep within to those places that hurt and sitting there, so that there's no way that it's sore enough in the future that it can be poked and prodded and these things can be drawn out of you. But the way to do that is to have a certain routine, have certain peaceful habits, have certain states that are your norm, that are calm and peaceful, so that then you can identify when you fall out of those states and the thoughts that come in are crushing, because you can say, well, this is not my baseline, this is not my home, this is strange. And you can look more critically and more objectively at all of the negative thought patterns, which is the better side of this idea that your thoughts create your reality. It's more, if this is about me and my value as a human being, that is not relevant or true. Yes, you might make mistakes. Yes, you may repeat to make these mistakes, but it's not because you at your core are wrong. It's just a mistake. It's just something that you're doing that is out of alignment with love or with your best interests or with those around you. And it's much better to just look at those things critically, and then you'll be able to address them critically and do the right things to make your life run more smoothly. But it doesn't pay to attack yourself or to criticize yourself or to tell yourself, there it goes again, here I am back in my norm as an absolute idiot or an absolute terrible person. That isn't your baseline. So those moments when you're not triggered, when you are calm, when you are feeling kind of, wow, I'm neither here nor there, I'm really just a human being, just being, and allow that to become your baseline and the place where you feel grounded and calm and stable and unshakable, and not identified too much with yourself or your surroundings or the things that come and go, and instead you're very at one with all. So then if you do fall off the wagon, which you will, if the mind does come throw something up at you, or the external world throws you something, then you can say, hang on, this isn't quite me, this isn't my baseline. You reinvent yourself. new me. And if your family try and bring up a past you and say, no, but this is you. If your friends say, no, but this is you. You remember how you were when you were 13. You should still be like that, because that makes me feel grounded and safe. These things should not be dependent on external circumstances. Just you being a human. There are no expectations on you. No one needs anything from you. Those are codependencies. But just kind of... And the best way you can genuinely help those around you is by being centered and calm in yourself and non-reactive. And I can say this 1,000,000 times to myself, 1,000,000 times to you. These are always going to be things that I will repeat. And these are always things that we're going to hear again and again. But there are always new ears that need to hear it at different moments, just to bring us back to reality. The reality is none of the fluff that's going on in the world around, on the internet, on the political sphere. And instead it's here, it's on the earth, it's connecting to the earth and feeling the dirt and feeling the fact that these plants here, they will go through any weather. They're not going to run away. This tree, when the rain comes, is not going to try and run under this shelter and hide itself. It's going to stay there. When the winds come and blow the trees and blow the dirt and the sun beats down, there is nowhere to go. They have to remain. They have to be in their center. They have a baseline. They have a way of being, and they know where to redistribute their energy at different moments. They're much more active at night. If you've ever slept in a forest and you're very tuned in, you'll be able to see the energetic transfer between trees that happens during the night. It's happening under the surface, and then it starts happening. If you shine a torch, I suggest you do this if you have a garden or a park at night. Go out with a torch and shine a light on the trees, and you see they're greener, particularly in the summer. During the day they seem very wilted and dead. You go back at night, they spring up again. Just notice these little things. This is where the mind can start to go. This is where the soul can start to kind of feel its tentacles into. It's interesting. The absolute most spiritual state of being is also the most grounded, most realistic, and most connected to what is actually happening, what's actually going on. And just to look at things very clearly, very objectively, without attachment. And say you're in an interaction with someone that you've been in an interaction with since birth, like your parent or guardian, caregiver, and there's a repetitive pattern happening. One of you reacts, the other one reacts, and it goes spiraling like that. The next time you receive a message from them, don't look at it with the eyes of you. Look at it with no emotional attachment, with no, this is what they must mean. Yeah, I know exactly where they're coming from. None of that bitter jadedness, and instead, no, I see the misunderstanding. Correct the misunderstanding, very logically. You may sound like a robot. They may be confused that you're not coming back with the same barking, and instead it's just calm, peaceful, centered, and non-reactive. And it can't just be with words. You actually have to feel it. You actually have to feel inside and not react, and just see, look, I see what I'm being trapped into. I see the interaction I'm being pulled into. This is the Maya, another layer of the Maya that just likes to come and cloak you, either in pain or pleasure or any of these dualistic feelings that is not consistent with actual reality under the surface. That was another thing I wanted to talk about, was the dogs bark. And just, they have no insecurity about barking. Barking is not music. It's not musical. I'm not sure exactly what you would call it, but there's a confidence and a happiness and just a involuntary feeling about that. And sometimes you need to bark. But it's better if you can do this alone with yourself, instead of it suddenly coming out all over someone else. Or else, for example, maybe you have joyous feelings and wonderful, and then you have to wait until you're in bed with Mr. or Mrs. Right for that to be released. Well, no, just be with yourself. Just allow it to all flow out of you, and nothing gets stuck. either positive or negative, because either way, any energy that's stuck inside you, that can become cancerous, and then it sits, it's not moving. This is why we need to get the resources moving, you know, and make sure that it's flowing both ways. It's good to look at your bank account in this case and say, okay, how much am I holding onto stuff? How much am I spending too much and letting too much go? And just kind of making sure that there's a smoothness in the movement of your currency. And this goes the same for your energy. And this is why I love making these videos, because it's an outlet, it's a channel. And I have to say, full respect to Ricardo, the main reason I have this channel, the main reason I've started it, was to give back, to take a lot of the things that I've learnt from him, from being with him, from observing him, and then gift it back to the universe through my own words. And sometimes, I mean, the best way you can help your teacher is by then helping yourself. So a way for me to then help myself through what Ricardo has told me is to say it back, but through my own voice. It's very easy to sit and listen to someone talk and nod along, and it was so good, it all makes sense. But unless you're actually putting it into your own experience, your own body, your own grounded reality, then how on earth can it really become part of your true self? And that's something I'm learning all the time, is how can I live and be and express exactly what it is that I've come to learn. And certain things he taught me in the beginning, they're the sorts of things that you can understand on a superficial level at first, or on a certain scale, and then they become more and more pertinent depending on the circumstance, depending on what presents itself, and depending on how we change, as we age, as we develop. I love that. I love the consideration that aging is not really aging, it's just developing. I'm still developing. My face is developing. My soul is developing. Everything is. And there's no need for this kind of forced positive outlook. There's just the reality of a positive outlook, of things getting better. It's the overriding notion that there is eternity, there is infinity, and whether there's been a catastrophic earthquake that's shook everyone to their core and killed thousands and buildings have collapsed, or if there's a rabbit that I've been spending time with here, that I watched and spent time with, and I was stroking as it was alive, very, very sick with myxomatosis, which later died, and then I could visit day on day, and now I'm watching it disintegrate and go back into the earth. These are tragedies, these are sad things, but there's an eternal component to that which is everlasting and always going on, and that is kind of like the trump card. So weird, they're called trump cards, but it's the top of the top. It's the winning aspect of the universe, is that things, that matter is never truly destroyed. It's only ever recycled, and that's the same with all energy. So just evolving you and your wee little life and your wee little mind and soul, and that makes big differences in the external world. So so thank you so much for being here, joining me. I will endeavour to have more videos in a wind-free environment. But they have to be outdoors. Isn't there something so glorious about spending time and just allowing that energy to channel through you? Because Pisces is a very empathic channeling moment. So what are you letting into your field? And just allowing your body to move. By all means, stretch, even if it's just the minimal amount. Stretch and exercise, stretch and strengthen the body, and then the mind will follow suit. Just get yourself moving, That's what Aries will be calling for, and you don't want, when Aries comes, for you to try and spring out of bed and then everything's so stiff that you just crumble. So just get things moving, get the blood flowing, get the ideas flowing, and don't limit yourself. So lots and lots of love, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Please go to ineffablelse.com if you would like to have a reading with me. Thank you.